We're going to go to a special segment called AI Project Failure and Success Headlines, Key Lessons Learned. And Tori's our guest industry analyst, so it's up to you. Now, I can either read them or you can read these things and just pick the
Oh,
ones you want.
you're doing a great job.
Okay, I'll just read the
I'll
headlines
add
real.
color. How's that? I'll
That
be your
sounds beautiful. Yeah, I
color
like reading.
commentator.
I learned I could do that. So Volkswagen's Cariad, automotive's most expensive software failure. Boy, that's a good one. Apple, pick one, then we'll read a little more for it. Apple, these are obviously, we're starting with failure, cautionary failures and cautionary tales, projects that failed. Apple Intelligence spreads false news to BBC readers. That's a fun one. AI coding tool goes rogue, wipes entire database. I bet that CIO's on the market right now, CTO. That's a tough one. Not funny, everybody. Sorry, can't help myself.
Well,
Google's
they got the
AI.
data back, so and I was actually skeptical of that one, but should we talk about Volkswagen?
Yeah,
Uh,
let me read it real
the
quick.
fun one,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
is the
You want me to read it so they know what it is? Yeah.
sure,
Okay.
go ahead.
So let me read it real quick and then you then do your stuff. VW launched Cariad in 2020 with an ambitious vision to create one unified AI-driven operating system for all 12 VW brands. By 25, it became a cautionary tale. 20 million line code base riddled with bugs, delayed launches of the Porsche Macan electric and Audi Q6 e-tron by over a year, ultimately 1,600 job cuts. Wow.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is, have you ever heard of MVP? Minimally viable product here.
Yeah.
To start it off saying, hey, we're going to replace 200 plus supplier systems. We're going to build a completely custom AI and proprietary solution with this big bang transformation. That's a high risk. That's a
There
high
you
risk
go.
approach. So,
Yeah.
and then 20 million lines of buggy code. Yeah, so I think the takeaway here is start with one focused use case, validate it, and then expand. Don't try to do a big bang with everything and get this huge outcome.
That's what makes me nervous a little bit when I see you're exactly right. I mean, I've read a lot of the innovative books. If you look at scientific process, which is where stuff gets discovered, including the LLMs, by the way, there's been a scientific process that's been going on for many years with the journals sharing. These top scientists have been, helping each other, right?
Yeah,
That's how it got created. And it wasn't until recently when the storage and the processing power got cheaper that these things started to work more
right.
because then they could train the data. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
So, if you look back, go back to the light bulb. Remember when you were in sixth grade and you learned about the light bulb? I mean, that wasn't his only product. He already had other products. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to start with the light bulb."
Right, right, right.
You know, In the meantime, he was investing in it. So that's
You
how
know, I
innovation occurs through the scientific process.
Yeah, and I love the idea of swinging for the fences and trying to make this huge transformation.
Yeah,
But you can do that. I mean, frankly, AI is a huge
it's
transformation. But
huge.
but I remember developing neural networks and things like that with back in the was the Borland prologue. So when would be that? That'd be back in the
That's what I'm
90s,
saying.
probably. So even what we think of as this huge innovation really was incremental, and it
Exactly.
was when big data was actually feasible, and like you mentioned, all the scalable processing and that sort of thing. That a lot of the stuff that's already existed was be able to come together. It looks like it's been a big bang, but it's really been incremental development since really the 80s.
Yeah, well, it's big bang to most of us because we weren't behind the
Right,
scenes doing it. But newsflash, what do you think Google's been doing this whole time with their search engine?
right,
So so it's been out there in the public. We just didn't call it that.
right.
And behind the scenes, AI and data people have been using, like you said, AI for a while. But the shift is this big influx of data that it was trained on, and the ability for all of us to access it with an interface. That's pretty amazing. Let's read another one from here. Google AI makes false accusations. You know what? I think the Apple Intelligence one is, it's the same thing. Apple Intelligence spreads false news to BBC readers. So here's what Apple Intelligence, this is horrible. One notable instance involved a notification falsely stating that Luigi Mangione had committed suicide, a claim never reported by BBC. Another error incorrectly announced that darts player, is that a sport? Would you, if you can drink, is that a sport?
It's kind of like bowling. They're both
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah. And curling, can you, I don't know. They got to be on their shoes, on their skates
What
there.
about poker? I mean,
Yeah,
is that a
yeah.
sport?
I don't know. But anyways, darts player Luke Littler had won the PDC World Darts Championship before the final match even occurred. So you can see the guy at Apple just, oh, we'll just sweep that away
Yeah,
with the rug.
yeah.
Little drift here, maybe a little making stuff
Well,
up.
yeah. And so what did Apple say? Well, we were still in beta,
Is that
and
what they said?
yeah. Well, wait a minute. If you've shipped it to billions of users already, how is that beta? So, you know, this is again a failure with where governance really has not kept up, and Apple really should not, if it's truly in beta, it shouldn't be going shipping it to billions of users.
No.
So and
Big
then
beta.
yeah, that the other thing is if your AI errors are somewhat containable in a chat bot, but if you're pushing out notifications from AI, geez, you better make sure that
Yeah.
there's a quality there that you can count on.
Well, they're telling it to BBC News so BBC can report on it. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah,
That's not beta. That's something different. All right, we've all seen, we got to keep moving quickly.
yeah,
We've all seen this one. I don't think we have to cover much on this one. We've all talked about that one ad infinitum. So let's talk about what you called, I changed the topic title here.
yeah,
Job restructurings and successes and breakthroughs. Let's talk about these first two in mass.
sure.
Atlassian cut 1,600 jobs and pivot to AI. Oracle and Block announced combined 34,000 job cuts. What is your take on all these job cuts? Because I'm a little skeptical about these also right now. Go ahead.
Well, I am too. I think the jury's still out on that. And actually, study after study, people have been saying, in fact, that you mentioned the MIT study there. They're
Yeah,
saying, oh, everybody's saying that it's not going to replace jobs. It's just, different jobs. And to me, that's the story here between Atlassian and
yeah,
Oracle. The Atlassian, so CEO Mike Cannon-Brookes said that AI changed the mix of skills needed. So that's kind of that, oh, well, we didn't really
yeah,
replace, it's just a change in the mix. But on as far as Oracle's concerned, though, it's like, hey, this is, he explicitly, Jack Dorsey said, the roles were made redundant by AI tools. So that's flat out saying AI is replacing these roles. And so I think that's the big takeaway to me is that there are people that are coming out right now and saying, hey, AI is taking jobs. That's why we cut this number of people. And that's why these jobs were eliminated. Whereas, other people are just saying, hey, there's a different shift in jobs. I think the jury's still out on that. I think that people are betting they're going to replace jobs, companies are, and they're making cuts. And I
I
think
do.
they're
I
going to
get
come
that.
back with
Yeah.
new positions. And again, if the MIT study is any indicator, they're probably not going to see the ROI they were thinking, and they're going to need to bring people back
Well,
to do
I've
what
read
they.
the story. I think it was Atlassian that had to quietly bring people back. And what I've heard on this from talking to a lot of people, well, here's my take. CFO, end of the year, is talking to the CEO and the board. Hey, how can we get the stock price up with our year-end numbers? Hey, let's announce a job cut. What they don't also announce is all the hirings at the same time. That's number one. Number two, they're going to blame it on something. Let's blame it on AI. Let's blame it on AI. So I think you're seeing a little bit of that because if you go back to the reality check of what's actually happening in the enterprises, the vendors are all selling agentic orchestration, which we know is all early stage. Everybody here knows that. And we're hearing even on this video here, this thing that we're doing today, find a workflow, find a workflow. That's a far cry from replacing everybody. Having said that, future, that's a different story. All I know is everybody here on this thing, please make sure you're up to speed on using AI. and learning the pros and cons and how to use it for what you do. Okay, here's a success. Amazon launches, is this a success, I hope?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
isn't job replacement.
yeah. Amazon launches health AI offering. Oh, this is one of your successes. 24 free virtual care to Prime members. That's kind of cool. Healthcare AI pivot cuts ER wait times by 25%. There's a workflow right there. That's an important one, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what really is kind of matters here is it's
Yeah.
not just answering questions, it's taking actions on behalf of the user. Do they want to schedule an appointment, blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, we're back to the question of governance, and I mean that's going to take a high bar for trust and safety, right? When you're
Yeah.
dealing
Triage. Yeah.
with taking yeah, taking steps on behalf of the user there. It's pretty bold. It's pretty bold. So I think what we're going to see is if anything goes wrong in this space, a
We'll hear
whole
about it.
bunch new area for regulatory scrutiny, and government will want to get involved. So
Yeah, well, here's the last thing. The bigger pictures. But on that comment, I think you're right on the money. I think people are obviously experimenting, using it. They're going to put it in areas where it's too early, and you're going to see some problems.
yeah.
And then we're going to get the legal process will show up and help us create some type of governance. Anyways, but the horses are already out of the barn in a lot of these situations,
They really
unfortunately.
are. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's almost funny. All right, the bigger picture. Stanford faculty across computer science, medicine. Go ahead, tell us about this one.
Yeah, well, yeah, so basically what I would say on this one is that they're saying that the hype is over right now. The hype, from the hype cycle to the accountability cycle. And I think that's good news for us. I think that's good news for practitioners, for the technical executives. Hey, we've been, sharing some of the cautionary tales now, and I think that the rest of the world is saying, you know what, we need to think about where where is this useful? Where is the ROI? How can we prove it before we go too crazy with it? And I think we'll be getting the kind of credibility as practitioners that we've maybe been lacking in the midst of the hype cycle. And that's
Yeah,
what's going to happen in 2026 is my prediction.
that makes sense. Hey, I'm going to add a comment, Dr. Ahmed Shah. Sorry, Ahmed, I didn't see these questions until just now, but he's got a couple comments, and I urge everybody
Yeah.
to follow Dr. Shaw on our site and on LinkedIn. And he's got an AI coding tool, a framework that helps AI figure out when to exit to a human. And he's working on that exact problem. And his comment is governance frameworks are insufficient. You need AI controls, especially with the agentic paradigm. And this is a mix of economic pressures and AI. I think we both agreed on
Yeah.
that. And the AI coding tool that we were talking about a minute ago, one of your examples, he wrote about that incident in the Oracle. He calls it the
Yeah.
Oracle Delusion newsletter on LinkedIn, and Zillow's forecasting engine, as well as United Healthcare hallucinations, are endemic to these models. You can't remove it entirely. So
Yes.
everybody, and he says MVP is good, but
Yeah, I
need
was
to,
going to say this I think is a good
yeah,
comment that he brings out
yeah,
is that the MVP is fine when we're talking about what's viable and what isn't when we're talking about software
yeah.
development engineering, but the AI being probabilistic as opposed to deterministic, I think that's a good point to be thinking about.
Yeah, he knows he's talking about. Anyways, thanks for this segment, Tori. I told you to go. It'd feel quick, right? Hopefully,
Yeah.
it went quick for all you too. But your company obviously does a lot of projects. A big part of your project is project recovery. Where you got a failed project, or maybe don't know that you're failing. And I remember when we first, and the other part of it is ahead of time, proactively planning to make sure that you're successful. You do both. And I remember when we started talking, you talked about this ERP root cause assessment. So if you've got an ERP project and you're like thinking to yourself, hey, maybe we should take this assessment to make sure we're on the right track. That's what this is for, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's and it's a self-assessment you can take and it gives you a score and but and if you do it you can reach out to me and I'll be happy to go through it with you and at no cost or anything like that. But
Yeah. And one of the things that Tori is doing, everybody is for our community is creating a generic project assessment tool, right? We're working on that,
Right.
and we're
Yep.
going to tell everybody when we have that. So it could be an AI project, could be anything.